Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session on the changes to the standards for registered training organisations 2015. I'm Maggie Hall, the Senior Advisor for Vocational Education and Training Practice at CIT Solutions, and this is Steve Mills, who is our Senior Training and Assessment Convener. We're running this session this morning in response to the many questions that we've received from people regarding the standards, the changes to the standards, and what this means to them as trainers and assessors in the vet environment, and also the options that are available to people. So I'll be asking Steve the questions that we've received from people, and we're really keen to hear from you as well. So please type in your questions as we go through the information this morning, and we'll have an opportunity to respond to those at the end. So Steve,
thanks.
Hi. So what has led to the changes in the requirements for trainers and assessors?
Well, the revised standards for the RTOs 2015, Maggie, specify that those actually training and assessing in a vet environment need to meet some new requirements. So that's why we're all here, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does this actually mean for a trainer and assessor?
Well, there's a few things to think about. So if you have the current TAE 40116 certificate for in training and assessment, then you need do nothing.
Right.
So you're fine. As do if you have the TAE 40110 certificate for in training and assessment, and you hold two other units, being the address, adult language literacy and numeracy, and the design and develop assessment tools. So if you hold those two units and the TAE 10, then you're compliant as well.
Okay.
Then there's a couple of different versions as well with the LLN and the tools units. The LLN is that if you have the TAE LLN 411 or the TAE LLN 401A, so either of those.
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
And then with the design and develop assessment tools, if you have the TAE ASS 502 or the 502A, 502B, either one of those three in regards to that. So those two units and your TAE 40110.
Okay, fantastic.
If you just hold, for example, the TAE 40110 and only one of those other two units, then you'll need to complete the other unit that you don't have. Or if you have neither of those two units along with your TAE 10, you will need to be compliant by getting the other two units.
Great.
Yep.
Good. Okay, so we had a question from one person saying, well, I just train and assess in my workplace. I'm not part of an RTO. Do these requirements still apply to me?
No, Mags. If someone's just training and assessing in the workplace, they don't need to, but if they're training and assessing against accredited qualifications or statements of attainments or units of competency, then they'll need to be compliant.
Sure. Okay, so let me look at the next question. There's a few.
Yeah, we've had quite a few.
How do I check which version of the qualification I have?
Okay, so what you'll do is you'll need to rumble around, dig out your old qualification, and you'll have a look on that, and it'll have a code on it. Now, the code of that qualification, if it starts with a TAE, then that's a good start, because that means it's from the training and education training package. But if it starts from with a BSZ or a TAA, that means you actually have an older version of the qualification, which means that you would need to actually upgrade, so not just become compliant, but you would need to upgrade to the new qualification.
Yeah, sure. So, Steve, what's the difference between upgrading my qualification to the TAE 40116 and just meeting the compliance requirements?
Yep. Okay, so to meet compliance, we mentioned before needing the TAE 40110, the certificate for in training and assessment, and the two additional units, the LLN and the design tools unit. To upgrade, it'll be those 2 units plus there's another 2 units that were deemed as non-equivalent from the old training package to the new training package. So the upgrade will include the gaps from those 2 units as well, which is plan and organise assessment activities and participate in assessment validation.
Good, thank you. So are there any benefits to upgrading rather than just meeting the compliance requirements?
Yeah, well, one of the things I've had a lot of people say to me is, oh, I may as well just upgrade because then you're current and you have the latest version of the qualification.
Yeah.
And then so if there's any further changes down the track, well, then you're ready to go with it. Yeah.
Okay. So what delivery options do I have, say, just to meet the compliance requirements?
So we have a couple of options there. The LLN unit, we do that completely online, and you'll do that as in a self-paced mode. And to design and develop assessment tools, we can either do online or we can actually do that as a face-to-face module as well. Great,
good. So what about if I want to upgrade my qualification to the TAE 401-16? What are the options there?
Yep, again, we've got a couple of options there. So we can either do, the CIT Solutions actually has a bridging program, which includes the 2 compliant units plus the 2 non-equivalent units. And you can do that through online, or you can do that face-to-face with us.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're perhaps not in Canberra or something like that, then you can, you're somewhere else in Australia, you can do that online version as well.
And that's both for people with the 04, the 10,
that's
and the
correct,
BSc.
Maggie. Yeah. So if you hold the TAA 04 or the TAE 40110, then you'll provide us with some eligibility documents just to show those things. And you can participate in our bridging program. If you happen to have the BSZ version, which is a few iterations back now, then you may still also be eligible, but you'll also need to do some additional assessment pieces, and there will be an additional fee for that as well, because there's a bit more work to get you updated. But we can still do that though for those people.
Sure. So in terms of this bridging program, can you tell us a little bit more about the bridging program?
Yep. So it can be done online. It's self-paced, as I mentioned there a moment ago, but the face-to-face version, we generally run, it's over 3 sessions.
Yep.
And they're a fortnight apart. So it gives you a bit of time to take in the information, and we know we're all busy these days as well. So we all don't like to do our homework, but but yeah, you've got that option as 3 days fortnightly. So, but whichever path you choose, we actually can provide you with the resources and support that you need to get you through whatever pathway that you choose.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, thanks, Steve, for all of that information. So now we're going to hear about some of the questions that people might have that are outside the information that we've received so far. So I think we're just waiting to get some of those questions now from people.
Yep, so we had, I think, one there, Amanda, from about payment options. So yeah, you can just contact our customer support team and they can talk to you about that as well. Obviously, there are different costs for the bridging online or the bridging face-to-face, or if you choose different options. On our website, we actually have all the pricing and everything up there. And then we do have a payment plan as well.
Yep, that's important, isn't it? Good.
Right. Any other questions?
Else?
No one has any questions.
It's quite a lot of information to get your head around, isn't it, Steve? But look, you've been really clear. And
one that's come through is, what are the 3 different compliance options?
Okay, the 3 different compliance options.
So if I'm a student, how can I upgrade, and what's the distinct difference between the 3 that we offer?
Okay, so for the compliance, to meet compliance, so as we mentioned there a minute ago, so you need the TAE 40110 certificate for in training and assessment, and then you also need to have achieved 2 other units of competency, being the TAE LLN 411 or LLN 401, and then the TAE ASS 502, which is Design and Develop Assessment Tool. So if you have those 2 units along with your TAE 10 version of the qualification, then you are compliant already. But if you don't have one or either of those 2 units, you will need to do both of those units to be compliant. But that doesn't mean you've upgraded to the qualification. It doesn't give you the full Cert 4 training and assessment in the TAE 40116. That you're just compliant. So you need to do the bridging program to upgrade. So that one's complying and one's upgrading to the new version of the qualification.
We have another question here about RPL. So we've had some more people join. So the difference between the RPL option and just the compliance options?
Yep, certainly. So people, certainly we offer RPL as well. If people are maybe working in an RTO and they can provide some evidence of actually doing that type of work, then they just can have a chat to us, and again we can just talk about what evidence and that they might need to provide to meet the gaps or to actually achieve the units if they don't have the units.
Yeah.
So the non-equivalent units, sometimes if you're in an RTO, people can quite easily provide some assessment tools and some documents that they've done, developed in the workplace, and we can look at recognition for those. Yeah, certainly.
Great. So another question that's come out as well is, so the TAE 16 has just come out. Do we know when the next training package will come out, and which option do I choose if I want to have the most recent qualification?
Yeah. So the answer is I don't know, and none of us know when new training packages are going to come out. Often if there's been a massive change in industry or something like that, then they'll look at changing training packages. Some training packages don't change for years. However, if you upgrade to the new TAE 16, then you will have the latest version. So if there is another change to the training package, then it's less likely you're going to have to do any or if much work at all to still be compliant. Whereas if you just comply now, then there would be some gaps that you would need to address if there were changes to the training package in the near future. But yeah, we don't have a crystal ball as to when the training packages change, but generally, you know, they look around about 3 to 5 years. They sort of start looking at them if there's been changes in the industry and that.
Yeah. So another one that's come through is when can I start study? Is it something I can start now for 2019, or is it something that I can leave a little bit longer for that deadline?
So I guess what to think about is we're running programs here all the time. So whether you're complying or upgrading, we continually have programs running. We don't sort of do semesters per se, like some institutions. So we're continually opening programs up, our open access programs. And you need to think about, give yourself a bit of time, given that the deadline's 1st of April. So you would need to have your course completed, your assessment items in and graded and then awarded before that date to be compliant.
Excellent. We've just had a question come through as well in the chat box. So this is from Kim, and Kim wants to know, so if doing 2 or 1 extra modules doesn't make you doesn't give you the next qualification, what is needed to get the updated qualification?
Okay, yeah, Kim, so for the updated qualification, you would need to complete the bridging program, which is upgrading you from the version of the qualification you have now to the newest TAE 40116. And that includes the 2 units to be compliant plus the 2 non-equivalent units.
So Steve, what's the difference between just being compliant and getting the updated qualification? Because I think there's a bit of confusion around.
Yep. So the updated qualification, as I said, there's 2 other units, and which is plan assessment activities and then participate in assessment validation. When the training package was updated, those 2 units were deemed as non-equivalent, so it means they're not the same as the previous version of them. So there's some additional work that needs to be done, some gap training to meet those units of competency. Whereas to be compliant, you just need your TAE 10 and the 2 other units, the LLN and the tools unit. You're still able to do the same thing. Okay, you can still train and assess exactly the same. However, one of them, as I mentioned before, as far as currency goes, you would have the latest version, and so therefore wouldn't be as affected as much later if there were upgrades to the training package. One of the things often too, and we're having this issue now, is people with the BSED, it's like 3 iterations of the qualification previous to this one, and so they need to actually do quite a bit of work to make up to get to the new qualification. So the longer you leave your qualification before upgrading to the new one, the harder it's going to be to meet it when other changes are made down the track.
Awesome. So we have another question here from Jackie. How many assessments are involved in the full upgrade to the new qualification?
Okay, so the full upgrade to the new qualification, if you're, and it's dependent on whether you have the LLN unit or not. If you don't have that, there's 2 assessment activities with that unit that we do, and then with the rest of the bridging program for the assessor units, there's another 3 assessment activities to do there. Same with the compliance for the design and develop assessment tools unit. There's 3 assessment activities related to that, and 2 with the LLN unit. So it's not much extra work to upgrade than to comply, and for that little bit extra, it's probably worthwhile, as I said, just to make sure you've got the latest qualification.
And what are the, so based on Jackie's questions, what are the formats of studying that? So online?
Yep, so we do a bit of blended learning with the bridging program, which is the upgrade to the full qual. So we do a bit of self-paced stuff. If you haven't got the LLN, for example, you'll do that self-paced online, whereas we can do the other stuff face-to-face. So all the other units are done face-to-face or online. So there's a choice there for people. If they've got time commitments, things like that, sometimes the online's an option. Some people prefer the face-to-face, so we offer that blended approach.
Okay, so I have another question here. Do you have to pay to get RPL for the 2 units of literacy and assessment tools, and what kind of evidence is required? So I guess for RPL, what kind of evidence is required?
Yeah, so we just, it's probably a bit hard to answer on a webinar, but you could certainly call us up and we could sit down and talk about a pathway, and we have a self-assessment checklist you could look at and look at the specific evidence requirements. People can actually go and look at the units on training.gov.au and find the units of competency and actually look at the evidence requirements on there and see if maybe they've done those sort of things in their workplace and can provide evidence of doing those things.
Okay. There's a question here from Rebecca. Is it true that you can't teach without supervision from the start of semester 1 unless you've upgraded your qualification?
That sounds like an organisational thing, not a compliance thing. Yep, so the 1st of April is the date when you need to be compliant by. So as long as you're compliant by that date, you've been awarded by that date, then you're able to teach right up until that date. Yep.
Okay, cool. So so is the upgrade compulsory?
No, the upgrade is not, but the compliance is. If you are training and assessing against accredited qualifications or statements, things, yep.
And then another question that's come through is, when are the next classes starting? Is it possible to get them started before Christmas?
We actually have a bridging upgrading program starting this Wednesday, which might be a little early a bit quick for people. But look, based on expressions of interest and that sort of thing, we'll actually put courses on if we have enough numbers. We'll actually run, and we're putting them on all the time based on the demand. So we don't just have set numbers. So yeah, we could get something done before Christmas if we give the numbers. Yeah, and there's information on the website. We have calendars on the website of our upcoming programs, so you can have a look on there. And if you're still not sure on there, certainly call our learner experience team. They'll be more than happy to tell you when the next calendared courses are coming up.
So for another question that's just come through from Mitch, are there any further study pathways after completing a TAE 16 certificate in training and assessment?
Yeah, you can certainly go on from there. We actually deliver, and Maggie delivers our diploma in training, design and development. And we
absolutely.
Do
so we run about 3 of those a year. In fact, we have one starting I think in a fortnight's time. So that's a very exciting program that we offer. The diploma TAE 50216, the Diploma of Training, Design and Development. And we also offer recognition against the Diploma of Vocational Education and Training, and both of these qualifications enable others to deliver the TAE 40116 certificate in training and assessment. So they're terrific qualifications to have, and people who have completed them in the past have found that they've made real differences in their organisations, because they do a training needs analysis in their organisation, they develop a program, they implement that program, and they evaluate it. So it has some real benefits for the organisation as well as the individual.
And what sort of people might do the diplomas, Meg?
All kinds of people, Steve. We have lots of people from public sector organisations, but we have lots of people from registered training organisations, and just organisations where people might want to be delivering in-house training, but they find that that formality of going through a structured program assists them in those various contexts, really. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Good.
I love that program, by the way, you can tell.
You do.
Yep.
All right. Anything more, Amanda?
Yeah, so we just have one more. So if you have a group of colleagues that need to come in and upgrade, is there a possibility to customise for a particular client group or group in an organisation?
Yep, for sure. And I'm happy, as the course convener, I'm more than happy to sit and have a chat with you about your group and what your needs are, and how we might best suit your needs, for sure. Yeah. Yep.
And that's the same for the diploma. We have had customised programs for organisations as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
are there any more questions out there just before we finish off? We have Amanda looking at your questions at the moment and sending them through to us. Is there anything else there, Amanda, at the moment?
Not at the moment. We've still got a little bit of time if anyone does have any more questions.
Yeah, well, we do have some more time. You're probably in a state of shock. That was quite a lot of information to take in. However, as we said, we're more than happy to take your questions, and our learner experience team can be contacted on 207 4444, and we have also put up our email address for you there. It's citsol, CITSOL @cit.edu.au, and we're very happy to receive your questions or comments, and we'll certainly get back to you very promptly. So thanks, Steve, for taking us through all of that information. It's been great talking to you today, and great to hear the options that are available to people. So, and thank you for your time.